Why isn't that playing now? Get it? Oh, the intro's absolutely not worked at all. Oh, there we go. Decides to come in.
Remains a very, very good FA Cup final. And Hatchin! What a magnificent goal!
Good evening and welcome to All Things Sky Blue season review over the season. Shortly, I'll be joined by most of the All Things Sky Blue team. The exception is Danny. Danny won't be joining us. Unfortunately, he's still not very well. So hope you're getting better soon, Danny, and hopefully you can join us, obviously, in the pre-season. So just before I do bring my guests in, just remember we are live on Facebook, YouTube and X, but you can also find us on Instagram as well. If you listen to us on podcasts, please go in, rate us 5 stars. If you listen to us or watch us on YouTube, please go and like and subscribe. So without further ado, let me introduce to you the members of the All Sky Blue team. First of all, Josh. Good evening, Josh. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Stu. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Be also joined by Mark. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, Stuart. Good evening, all.
Thank you very much. And also we're joined by Glenn, not visually, but audioally.
I'm here, but not here.
Yes, I hope you're all very well, and you're good. So, season review then, boys. Obviously, you can send in your comments as well. I will read out comments. Good evening, Hector, who's watching on YouTube. So, season review then, boys. Back to the very beginning. July, August time when, people were coming in, people were coming out. We had, in total, I think we had 13 go out and 13 come in the end. And that I'm including the January transfer with that as well. Most notably, the ones going out is obviously Vic and Hamer. Other ones were Josh Reed, Frankie Diabo, Michael Rose, Walker, Waghorn, Kane, DaCosta, Maguire. Jack Burrows went out on loan, and Ryan Howley also went out on loan as well. First of all, were you happy with the people that had left? Were you happy with the fees that we got for them as well? How are you feeling about that, Josh?
Yeah, I think the good thing about the Victor money is it's going to set us up for a good couple of years. That alone, not just with the transfer that he made to Sporting, but wherever he ends up, whether that be Arsenal, another team abroad, that's going to set us up for a good while. Obviously, Hamer was disappointing for me. He was, on a personal note, my favourite player. And I actually think that he was a bigger miss for me than Victor was, which is, a credit to him. I still don't think we've properly replaced Hamer. I think Torp is a different kind of player, but we needed him in January. But I think all in all, it was a good transfer window. I have to say that I did not expect, but I was hoping to get top 6. Ultimately, we did just fall just short, but I still think that if we keep the squad together now, we have got the ground to improve next season.
Okay, cool. Mark, how are you feeling about the transfers out that we did?
Yeah, as Josh said, I think it was obviously always disappointing. I think everyone knew about Victor going because I think he made it fairly clear that he wants to leave. So wasn't surprised. I mean, my gut feeling was that Gus was going to leave. I think the thing that disappointed everyone was kind of the timing of it. He seemed like fairly happy, but then obviously it transpired that he wasn't, and he wanted to move elsewhere. Obviously to play in the Premier League for a team that realistically were always going to be bottom of the league, which has proven right. And obviously more money. So disappointing that he went. I can understand it because he wants to play at a high level at the time. So I've got no access to grind with Gus. I think he came back, he still got a great reception from the fans. I think, it was always going to be a difficult season this season. And I think we overruled who we brought in. I thought the money was spent pretty well. Yes, it did take a while for results to come, which I think is understandable because really it's a new team in a way. But overall, I think Robbins and Dean Austin, obviously head of recruitment, did a good job in identifying the targets they wanted to bring in to strengthen in other positions. But I agree with what Josh says. I think we still have a problem, I feel, in midfield. We haven't really got that. So I think the thing with Hamer is people go on about his goals and assists, but what I noticed with Gus was the amount of times he'd run back, he'd get tackles in, he'd stop attacks. I feel like that's possibly an area I would want to see a strength in the summer. So I think that's a slight cause of concern for me. But I think for me, I was thinking start of the season. If we get around mid-table, it's a perfectly fine season, and we've done better for that. So I think there's more ticks than crosses. So overall, it's been a good season, not a great season, but a good season, a good solid season, and hopefully we can strengthen in the summer and see what happens.
Yeah, Glenn. Just obviously, I've named the start of this really the rebuild season because that's what everybody put it down to in losing Vic and Hamer mainly. But the signings that we brought in Sims, Hadji, Sakamoto, Milan, Jay Da Silva, Thomas, Kitchen, Torp, Latti, Binks. Oh, and his internet must have gone. Over to you guys then. Binks, and we also brought in Ayari on loan from Brighton early on in the season as well. We know that didn't go very well, and obviously he went back to Brighton, then he went out on loan to Blackburn. So with that being said, with the money that we brought in, as you rightly said, Josh, about spending wisely, are you happy with what we've brought in?
Well, I think there's two parts to that. I think when we entered the season, or we entered September when the window closed, I was really happy. Like Mark's mentioned, I still think that we needed another midfielder, but I was relatively happy. And having seen the players this season that we have brought in, I don't think we've made a bad signing, to be honest with you. There's been players that have had bad games, but that's football. But ultimately, the likes of Sims and Wright will only get better. Wages are an issue, but I'd pay good money for Binks to get him back. Liam Kitchen will only get better. Bobby Thomas has been fantastic. I really don't think we made a bad signing, but going back to the summer, let's try and give Doug King some praise as well. There was still a lot of people that were thinking that he was, part of Sisu. He wasn't here for the right reasons. I think he's shown us all that we are here for the long term. He's here for the long term. And I'm just as confident, if not more confident now than I was in the summer with him at the as our owner, if you like.
Yeah, obviously Robert Connor on Facebook's just said I forgot to mention Brad Collins as well, who we brought in that we will speak about as well. Again, Hector has said I agree with Josh. Solid base to build from as soon as we sign 6 or 7 more decent players in the summer as well. Wes has come on. He says the biggest waste of all the incoming players, I'd say Collins, need a new keeper in the summer, 100%. Obviously, we will come on to that a little bit later on anyway. Mark, were you happy with the signings? Would you have preferred to see us spend rather than, I don't know, the Sims money on a midfielder, or are you happy with that we bought Sims in? Or Hadji Wright, for that matter?
Well, I think we could look back now and say it was money well spent. Obviously, at the start of the season, we probably wouldn't have been saying that because they didn't really score any goals. I felt Ellis lacked a little bit of sharpness in pre-season a bit. I watched him against MK Dons right in the summer. And yes, he did score a couple of, I think he might have scored a hat-trick, I think, that night. But he just looked a bit off the pace for me. And I think I think, in fairness, I think what you could put it down to is a couple of things. One, settling to a formation which suited him. I don't think that helps. I think we chopped and changed the lineup. I think Robins really knew what his best 11 were, and it took him probably to after the Preston away game, didn't it, for him to sort of stumble on a formation where we got the best out of Haji Wright and Ellis Sims. But clearly they're good players, they're good signings. The stats prove that this season. They score goals, they provide assists. I think our problem area at the moment is back defensively is our problem area, and the goalkeeper, as we've mentioned before. I think Brad Collins is a good keeper. I think that's the first and foremost I will say. I don't think he's a bad keeper. I just think he's going through a really, really bad spell, bad confidence. I saw enough of him when he first came into the team to suggest that we have got a keeper there. However, I do think that is an area we do need to strengthen the summer, because statistically we've conceded 11 more goals this season than we did at the end of last season. And when you look at 11 goals, if you don't concede 11 goals, it's nearly, that's 3 or 4 wins there. So, and that would have made all the difference. So I think, my opinion, it's been spent quite well, but I feel there's still areas I feel needs to be improved. I'm not a massive fan of Jay Da Silva. I think he's had a pretty poor season. Defensively, he's been brought in as a defensive, as a backup really for Bidwell or to come in for Bidwell. He hasn't really done the business defensively. He's had some really, really poor matches. I mean, the Preston game for me stands out. For me, it was absolutely atrocious, that game. So, I mean, all in all, I still think there's more positives than negatives, but I think defensively that needs to be looked at. I feel, to something in particular.
Yeah, obviously, Glenn on here is. Glenn said he's sorry, but his internet went down, so he is. But he's happy with our pre-season signings. He's also said we need a left-foot centre half, ideally a central defender with pace, and a lead out for our back four. Obviously, we will come on again to that a little bit later on. So the season starts. We start against Leicester. We should have won that one, and I think that might have kicked us on. We lost, and then we lost in the League Cup to Wimbledon, and we just couldn't really get going. It was a slow start, the same as pretty much as the season before, and it was difficult, wasn't it? Really, we had 3 wins until the end of November. That just really wasn't good enough, was it, Mark?
It wasn't, but then you look at the Leicester performance. We played really well. We should have won that game. We played them off the park, and it was just one of those games where if we took our chances, we wouldn't have been talking about a 2-1 defeat. We would have won that game, or at worst, maybe have got a point. So I thought the performance was there, and you think it gives you cause for optimism. But remember that was a game against Leicester where Gus Hamer made his one and only league appearance that game, and that made a big difference. I thought we looked a better side of him in it. And Carl McFadden scored as well. So it was a really good performance. But yes, the Wimbledon game was really disappointing. I didn't go to that game, but from the reports I heard from other people, it was a real big disappointing result. And then, although we picked up our first win against Borough, we just didn't kick on from the games.
Yeah,
a lot of frustrating results where I just feel that Robins just didn't know what his strongest 11 was, and he was trying to play a formation which worked. Whilst it worked last season with the personnel we had, it didn't work with the new team he had. So it took a while for him to really get to grips with what was our best team. So I don't think it's entirely to hold their hands up and say we got things wrong. They stumbled on a formation, as I say, later on in the season, which then the results, improved massively. So I think it's a learning curve, not to the players, but for the management staff, and getting the best out of the players that we had.
Yeah, definitely. Graham's just put, we know we had a slow start, but we all knew that we would get better, which is what we did the previous season as well. Thank you for your comment, Graham. Look, I think the formation change came at home against Stoke, where we got I think it was a 0-0 draw at the time, back in November. That kind of changing that formation, Josh, steered us to, play it, get in the round holes, round pegs in round holes scenario, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And as much as it did slightly surprise me, because we all know that Robins sticks to his guns, almost to a fault. I didn't think that he'd actually do it. So fair play to him for making the change. And going back to, Mark's point about new players as well, let's not forget you had a couple of players come in that had never played in England before. Forget Championship, forget Premier League, not even in the same, continent, if you like. Haji Wright in America, obviously US international, and then Sakamoto as well. So I think Robins alluded to it as well. It's not just on the field, it's moving house, moving countries, different climate. It's a life-changing thing for the players as well. And I think that we've seen with Sakamoto, apart from his injury, of course, before that, him and Wright, you can tell that they are more settled month by month, if you like. So there's that to consider too.
Yeah, definitely. We started to change. We changed the formation. We started to pick up a few more wins, and we started to see, the fruits really of the players that we signed. Hadji was scoring goals against QPR. Sims got 2. We all thought, Mark, that was going to be the turning point for Sims, but it wasn't quite there just yet, was it?
No, I think I don't know, for whatever reason, it just didn't click for him, did it? I think it's just lack of confidence, but it just took him a while. I don't know. I don't really know what I could put it down to. I mean, only he would know that. But from what I saw of Ellis, I felt it was just a lack of confidence for me. He wasn't shooting on target. He was shooting a lot into row Z. But what he did do is he made some good movement off the ball. Held the ball up well. He brought other players into the game. So you knew that he had he's got other good attributes to his game, but the one most important thing he didn't possess was the killer touch, the finishing. But obviously, as we go into the season, that changes, doesn't it? So
yeah, it definitely does. And obviously, Sakamoto was played in the number 10. He was played as a right wing back. He played on the left slightly as well. We couldn't really find. We knew that there was a talent in there. I thought personally that he might get found out a little bit too much with doing the same thing, but it was about stopping. When Leicester won the Premier League, Mahrez would always cut in onto that left foot and he'd score. It's about stopping them. You know what they're going to do, and the same for Salah at Liverpool and other players like that. It's about trying to stop them. And Sakamoto, you just couldn't stop, could you, Mark? He turned into that player that we knew that was in there, didn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. He's been fantastic. Pace, skill, trickery, and yeah, he was fantastic. He scored goals as well. So it's a shame that he got injured as he did, but what a signing! I mean, if he was playing consistently throughout the whole season, I think we could be talking about us maybe getting to the playoffs. I think he was that difference maker, because when he broke down injured, I felt our creativity had gone completely on that right hand side. So for me, he's a really, really important player for next season. It's obviously great to see he's back on the grass, and I'd imagine he'll be doing some more work as the season goes on in the summer. And we've got a really good signing. In my opinion, arguably our best signing.
Yeah, definitely. And it. I think Josh, he's a fit guy anyway, isn't he? He comes like a fit guy because he's not the youngest. It goes against Robins' grain, if you like, in terms of he likes to buy younger players and nurture them into the like he did with Vic. But he is slightly older. I think he's 26, 27. So he's kind of in the prime at the moment, isn't he? But he comes across as a really, really fit guy anyway, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he is one of those players that even if you're having a bad game as a team, he can just have that moment of magic out of nowhere and just create something. And if, we're talking about goals in a season, he could be the sort of player to get you points from losing positions, not single-handedly, but he can have a big impact on that. And I think the biggest thing for me is off the pitch as well. he's already established that really strong connection with the fans, like so many new signings have. And that, for me, is the basis for a productive future in the next few years for the club.
Yeah, definitely. Glenn's just mentioned on Facebook. Sims has featured in. I know we're talking about Sakamoto, but going back to Sims featured in every COV game this season. So that's impressive in itself, isn't it, Mark? You know, he doesn't break down with injuries, because a couple of seasons ago when we had Vic, there was games when, you know, he was a little bit injured. He wasn't injury prone. I'm not saying that by any stretch, but, you know, he did go off with a little bit of an injury. But Sims has been there consistently, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I think that's credit to the coaching staff as well, because I said earlier about the fact I felt his fitness wasn't quite at the start of the season, but clearly he's a fit guy. His fitness is there to feature in every game is testament to him. So yeah, and I think he'll get better as well next season. So all in all, I think he's been a fantastic signing. I know the jury was out on him, but as our friend Danny would point out too, you know, all the stats that he posted on social media about comparing his stats to Victor, you know, he's right, because, you know, goal scoring wise, he's up there, isn't he? You know,
yeah,
with Vic. So,
yeah,
you know, I think he's been, you know, certainly 8.5, 9 out of 10 signing for us, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think Josh, I can't remember which one said it, but one of you, you know, you said it probably perfectly. We haven't really had a bad signing. We haven't had a, you know, Marcel Hisnar or, you know, or a Bright Eknabar or somebody like that you've thought, no, they just haven't cut it, or they haven't featured. You know, all the new signings have pretty much featured for majority of the season, you know, haven't they? And it's, I think, like you said, Mark, I think it's testament to the coaching staff as well, you know, bedding them in, bringing them in step by step and taking them out when they've needed a rest. And I think that may have hindered us slightly towards the end of the season, just because, you know, the squad's wasn't quite big enough. And I think, you know, looking back, we can see that it wasn't quite big enough. But obviously we will talk about, you know, the future towards the end of the session anyway. But obviously we had wins. We've started to climb the table a little bit, and then comes the FA Cup. It was like a mic drop, wasn't it, from Doug King and Robbins? You know, Doug King said, "Right, I want a cup run." Robbins went bang. And gave us a cup run, didn't he, that we will never forget in the history of Coventry City. It was just an outstanding cup run, weren't it, Mark? It was just, you know, all the games when you look back at Oxford and Maidstone and obviously the Wolves game, and then obviously the 4-3 win that never will be. You know, it was just amazing, wasn't it? All them games and all them experiences.
Well, I think first and foremost, I think we've had so many draws the third round where we usually get knocked out by a lower league or non-league side, like Wrexham with the season before this one. And yeah, I think Oxford's a bit of a not uninspiring draw. Not, you know, we should win, but then I guess I looked at it as a way of an opportunity to progress, and we won comfortably in that game. Then we got Sheffield Wednesday next round. I thought, well, that's fine. We beat them the week before in the league. And I went to Sheffield Wednesday that game, and it was a terrible, terrible game of football. The pitch was awful. You know, the really bobbly surface, hard to play football. And that, if you remember, that was Victor Torp's debut as well for the club.
Yeah.
And he scored an absolutely worldly of a goal from outside the box, and just the ball was swirling all over the place, and the keeper didn't have a chance. And then could see the poor goal second half when we had chances to kill them off, and then we obviously did in the replay, we won quite comfortably. And then Maidstone, I mean, I don't know about you, the whole of the TV world and the media and anyone who's not a Coventry fan obviously wanted them to win, because obviously they pulled off a massive shock against Ipswich, and we were fantastic that day. I know it was you know, only Maidstone, but we were ruthless. And that was really the start of Ellis Sims' good run really with the team. And then the Wolves game after that was the best game I've been to as a fan away from home. It was end to end. I mean, we should, although it was we won obviously 3-2, and never forget what happened in the game. We probably should have won that more comfortably, if we have to be honest with ourselves, because we missed so many chances, and I thought we blew our chance really when Wolves took it to 2-1, and then Ellis Sims and I'll never forget that strike from Haji Wright from outside the box. Just literally behind the goal, you could see by the way the keeper was moving that he wasn't going to get there, and then watching that ball ripple into the net was the most unbelievable feelings. And then I thought, well, how do you top that? And then we've got Man United. We didn't turn up for about 68 minutes. And obviously, Robin's made a few changes. And, once we got that belief from Ellis Sims' goal, we were a completely different side, and we took it to United. And then, as we all know, it should have been given as a goal. Shocking decision by VAR. I guess that's one good thing about not getting promoted is not having the worry of VAR, because the VAR is a disgrace and all that. To summarise, a really, really memorable cup run. Some good money for the club as well, of course. Obviously, second best in 1987. Did it ruin our playoff push? Yes, for me, 100%, because we didn't have a big squad. And had we not have played those extra cup games, there's no guarantees of anything, but I think we would have had a real chance of getting to the playoffs. That's my view.
Yeah, obviously you've just answered the question that came in from Wes on Facebook. Josh, do you think that the cup run ruined our playoff push as well?
It's a good question. I think it played a role. Don't get me wrong, but I think it could be linked to more games. But the injuries we picked up as well didn't help at all. Sheaf and Sakamoto we've spoken about already. But I think if we did get into the playoffs, another question to out there: would it perhaps have been a season too soon? I don't know. We'll never find out, but I think we'll be stronger next season for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got Glenn back as well. Glenn, do you want to answer that question?
I think it did, because we obviously lost Alan in that game at Sheffield Wednesday through an unnecessarily injury, and that left us short in midfield. Obviously, with Sheaf and then Torp picking an injury up, I think that was probably the one thing that kind of hinders us. I think really when we lost those 4 games on the spin, we had 5 games without a win, didn't we? We lost at Bristol, Rotherham, West Brom, Preston, and then we drew with Stoke, didn't we? I think you look back at those 5 games, our performance is probably warranted at least 5 to 6 points from those games, and then look, where we'd be. Preston and West Brom, losing both of them in the way we didn't really help us out.
Yeah, Graham's just come on Facebook as well. Thank you, Graham. He said he doesn't think Palmer can up his game to the level that a number 10 is needed. Do you agree with that? Do you think Palmer's at that level and he can't get any better? Won't get any worse, but he can't get any better. Josh, do you want to go on that one first?
Oh, I knew you'd come to me. You know what? As technically gifted as Casey Palmer is, and I do think with a better injury record, he could be playing Premier League right now. Not top level, don't get me wrong, but certainly bottom half Premier League. He frustrates me sometimes, but I do think he does try and overcomplicate things, if you like.
Okay.
Flicks that aren't needed, step overs that aren't needed.
Mm-hmm.
I think when him and Callum O'Hare played together, I don't think they will in the future for obvious reasons, but I do think they almost tried to outskill each other as well. And I think that sometimes he can play a simpler pass than overdo things. But on his day, I think he's a fantastic player, and it'd be interesting to see next season where he fits on the hierarchy in terms of first team starter or a squad player. I don't know.
Okay, you kind of haven't answered the question though.
On purpose.
Do you think you kind of skirted around it? Do you think that he can up his level to what a number 10 needs to be, or do you think this is his level?
Second one.
You think it's his level? Okay, fair enough. Mark, do you agree?
I agree. Yeah, I don't see him getting any better personally.
Okay.
Disappointed with him, if I have to be honest, overall this season. As Josh alluded to, he does fancy flicks. He does things that are unnecessary. Don't get me wrong, his finishing's good. He can take a good free kick. He puts himself about. But he needs to. His work rate off the ball is the most disappointing aspect of his game. He's too. He doesn't track back. He switches off. He's a bit lazy for me. So, as far as next season's concerned, we get a few additions, and obviously Sakamoto fit. Sakamoto starts ahead of Palmer week, any time really for me. So, yeah, it's. I don't see him improving. That's my view.
Okay, Glenn, do you see him improving, or do you think he's at a level?
I think he has to improve if he wants to be starting regularly for us next season.
Do you think he can? Do you think he can?
I don't think he can. He has good games when he has a bit of fire in his belly. Sheffield Wednesday in the league and the FA Cup being the prime example. He played really well that game, but he had a point to prove. What sums him up in a nutshell is I look at the goal he scored against Hull, which was a brilliant free kick, and then the Ipswich game, he runs 10 yards to give away a stupid free kick, which Ipswich score off, which he had no need to get involved in. It was just a daft challenge, and he picks way too many yellow cards up for my liking. And yeah, I think Robins. I think there's a strong argument that we play Sheaf, Eccles, and Thorpe as a midfield three and sacrifice the number 10. I think the only time really we've seen the best of Palmer is when he played alongside Vic and we had a 3-man midfield. I think him as a number 10, we're too wide open. He's too much of a luxury player. And yeah, there's games where he just goes AWOL, like Blues away being a classic example. So yeah, I think he's at his level. Yeah, and I don't think he'll play that much next season. I think Clark or Sakamoto, Mason Clark, Sakamoto, or we'll just change the system and not play with the 10 next season.
Okay, interesting. Obviously, Russ, as you can see there, Russ has come on and said, can I thank you as a group for your great shows this season, enjoyed by an old fella. Thank you very much from all of us. And obviously that includes Danny in that as well. So as the season's gone on, obviously we have got the trip we've done the trip to Wembley. And then it kind of falls apart, doesn't it, Josh? In terms of the league form, the performances, everything is just a little bit more sluggish. Everything seems a little bit harder to watch, harder to play. And the games are slowly running out for us, aren't they?
Yeah, I think you've used the perfect word there, Stuart. Frustration. You know, there was still a shout, 4 or 5 games left of the season. Could we sneak into the playoffs? But whether it be fatigue, I don't know what it is, something mentally after Wembley, I'm not too sure. But it was, in my view, it was a poor end to the season in terms of a league standpoint. But I'm hoping, next season players will learn from it and we'll come back in the summer with a bit of a fire in the belly to try and turn that around. Okay, Glenn?
I know we used the word embarrassing on one of the tweets. I think it was just deeply annoying and frustrating that there was players were talking the talk, like, yeah, we still believe we've got a chance to playoffs. We're going to go and win the next 3 games. And then they just kind of Blackburn, we got absolutely dominated. Ipswich, yeah, we played well. QPR, we played well, but we just kept shooting ourselves in the foot. And that was kind of the underlying theme, probably from like Bristol City game onwards, that we were just too sloppy defensively. We kept giving teams goals. And yeah, that was just, and some of the defending was embarrassing, to be brutally honest. Some of the goals we give away were pretty much schoolboy Sunday league fare. And I think it's annoying when you play as well as you did for that 60 minutes odd against Man United, and then we throw in the performances like Blues away and Blackburn where we weren't really on it, really. And yeah, it's just really frustrating. So yeah, I think Robins is the same. I think he's annoyed with it, and I think he'll get them in and want to be fired up next season. And I think we've got to set the bar higher. Our expectations are a lot higher now. We're not going to accept losing that amount of games at the end of the season. That's our worst end to the season I can remember. So we've got to show a bit more fight, and yeah, it's just really annoying. And we did, thankfully, like I said, we missed out by quite a few points in the end. But yeah, if it had been like a point or so and we'd missed out, we'd have been all very, very annoyed and still nitpicking it. But yeah, we showed what we could do against Man United for that time. That's the marker. I want us to be playing with that level of intensity for 85-90% of the games next season.
Yeah, just a few comments that have come in. One from Luke Robinson on Facebook. Thank you very much, mate. He said, where did I see it? I've just missed it. Sorry, let me just go back. He said, we don't mind players that try and show a bit of flair to go forward, but the work rate isn't there with Casey. I get that sometimes. Again, we will go on to Haji Wright as well, because he has had a big factor and he has played a big part in Coventry City in terms of this term in scoring goals. You know, the winner against Wolves, the penalty to make it 3-3 at Wembley. But again, and I've said it on our X Spaces and I've tweeted about it, it's his work rate for me. I don't think he works. I think the goals have glossed over slightly what he doesn't do. Yes, I know he can score goals like the one against, I think it was Ipswich, with the goal back as well, which was a brilliant finish, by the way. I think he can do that more often. And sometimes he does work, but he just doesn't do it often enough for me. And I think that's the issue that probably a lot of people have got with Casey as well. Alan on YouTube has said the last stretch was rough to watch. I think we're all in agreement that it was a little bit rough to watch as well. Our sponsors just mentioned and said Lloyd Wright Fabrications. Lloyd's just come on Facebook. Evening, Lloyd, by the way. He said, once Dennis left, I think the defence changed. They must have knew he was leaving, and now I can see why Fads didn't stay and step into that position. What would you say to that, Glenn?
Actually, that's quite an interesting point, because I was thinking about Lawrence going. And also the caliber of coach we're going to bring in. I've got an expectation of the caliber of coach I want. I want someone who's got a decent name. You know what I mean? Somebody that will, like Lawrence. Everyone kind of knew him because he played for Wrexham. Obviously, he was Trinidad and Tobago. He was with Martinez. I want somebody of that stature. I think if we're going to aim high, we need to get the best we can get in. But I think Lawrence, yeah, obviously he was a big miss. We didn't replace him. Obviously we got the academy coach Dempster to stand up. And yeah, I don't think he caused a problem. But I think obviously Lawrence, he obviously did a lot. I think he did a lot with our set pieces as well. I'm sure they said that. But yeah, I think it was just frustrating. And yeah, it's no coincidence that we didn't really, since he went, I don't think we won that many games, did we?
Well, yeah, we didn't, but I'm not going to gloss over that comment that you just made about set pieces. We will come back to that one. Mark, how do you feel about that comment that Lloyd's mentioned about Dennis Lawrence going?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a big blow. I think you say he obviously was instrumental in, as we just touched on, with the set pieces and defensively. And yeah, I mean, that obviously the club now advertised for that position, I think yesterday. So obviously there's a guy called Liam Rossinius on the market, so maybe we can get a cheeky offer for him.
Not a chance. Get that out your head. Get that out your head.
I think in all seriousness, I mean, that's sort of a tongue in cheek comment. I think in all seriousness, he'll probably be looking for a number one position. But we do need a coach who's experienced. I've got no idea who they'll go for, but it's a position he's filling. Yeah,
definitely. I'm sure there's a lot of Twitter people and Facebook people that give it all the talk but can't do the job. Josh, you know, how do you feel about that comment about Dennis Lawrence going? Do you think it was the wrong time for him to go? Do you think he should have waited until the end of the season?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, that's what you'd want for players as well, you know, to get a full season out of them and rebuild in the summer. I mean, I've not really got anything to add. I think Glenn and Mark have covered everything. But what I will say is what a fantastic last game for him to go out on, the game at Molineux. You know, we couldn't have dreamt of that scenario. And I'm sure that's one of the, you'll remember that day like we will for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, I just look going back to Glenn's comment now. You know, again, anybody that listens to the Twitter Spaces and listens to me ramble on in my opinion show and things like that will know that if he was in charge of set pieces defensively, you know, I think he helped. But our set pieces next season have got to be much better, haven't they, Mark? Because corners, crossing from corners, short corners, throw-ins, it's all really pointless, isn't it? Because nobody moves, nobody makes an effort, and the corner situation, for me, they just don't know what they're doing.
To be honest, it wasn't even that good when Dennis Lawrence was there. If you remember, we haven't scored many goals from set piece, well, from corners specifically. We have scored the odd one, but I mean, who's been taking the corners this season? Josh Eccles for a large part of it. Every time I see him take a corner, it goes near post and it's headed clear most of the time. Bidwell's taken a few, gone kind of near post. He's probably a little bit better. I think Victor Torp is probably our go-to man. I think maybe at the moment, if we were to start the season next season right now, I think he's not been too bad.
Would you not say Bidwell?
Yeah,
because whenever Bidwell takes corners, I just feel that there seems to be more danger when he's taken a corner. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, I think he does mix it up. I mean, generally he goes back, he goes far post and he goes near post. I think Eccles was very predictable. I think that was the problem. I mean, I could when he lines up to take a corner with Eccles, I could literally tell you where where he wants to put the ball. And I watch it week in, week out. Every time it's near post. Whereas Bidwell, yeah, you're right. He occasionally goes far post, and it does look more of a threat. So I think he was a corner taker. And Victor Torp, I think, is a good set piece player as well. And I think that's part of the reason why Robins brought him in the January transfer window. But I think we're just too used to seeing the quality of Gus Hayman when he was taking corners. It looked like we could score with every corner kick. He was he whipped them in. He could almost score from a corner as well. He had that uncanny knack of creating chances. And I think when you're spoilt like that, and then you see after he goes, we just wasn't quite there. But it's definitely an area we need to strengthen in the summer, and I'm sure Robins will be identifying that as well. Yeah,
Luke Robinson on Facebook's just said, actually, to be fair, even that he's kind of disagreeing with you a little bit, Mark. He said Hamer wasn't a great set piece, wasn't great at set pieces, to be fair. He used to go straight to the keeper. Josh, I kind of see where he's coming with that, but it always looked like he was aiming for goal, didn't he? And if the keeper missed it, we'd score, not a lot of goals, to be fair, but we did score the odd goal, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, he did effectively shoot from corners, didn't he? Let's be honest. Yeah. It was almost like another free kick from a tighter angle. But I'd rather that every day of the week than hitting the first man time and time again, because it's like you said, Stuart, it's pointless. And you've got to consider as well, if you want to improve next season, not delivering on corners is a massive missed opportunity. It really is. And let's face it can't get any worse next season, can it? So we'll see how that goes.
How do you feel about that, Glenn? How do you feel about corners and throw-ins and set pieces?
I just think in general play, I think our crossing overall isn't that good. I think Haji Wright, if you're picking our top 5 crossers, I'd probably go Sakamoto, probably Wright, Bidwell, De Silva, and maybe Milan. But I think Milan's delivery is not great at times. I think he gets in good positions and quality isn't there. And it's, like I say, Palmer with some of the free kicks is just, over-hitting them, under-hitting them. I think you either got to whip it with pace and try and go near post or far post, like Josh said, aim for goal and try and get a flick on. Or if you're going to float it, you've got to get the first contact. I remember like Dublin and McAllister. McAllister just stood it up and Dublin would just peel off and just nod it in at the near post. Or flick it on for somebody else to get the flick on. But you've got to want to win the ball. There's too many times we put corners and set pieces in. We're static. We're not running. Yeah. You're not going to... Like, Maguire, the goal he scored against us, he got on a run. No one was stopping him scoring that goal. We don't do that enough. And Yeah, that's the frustration with me. I think Eccles is probably getting a bit unfair stick. I don't think the people attacking the ball are doing the job they should be doing as well.
Yeah, probably. That, to be fair, that's probably a fair point. But someone's just said something that I was going to go back to. Sorry. No, I've lost it. I've lost what I was going to say. Anyway, sorry. Going back on to the sluggish end of the season, if you like. Obviously, there was a big debate about the new signing Collins. At the start of the season when he comes in because Wilson wasn't doing the job. He got the nod. He was in for pretty much the rest of the season, then bar maybe one game or two games or so. And then towards the end of the season, it kind of like he was making silly mistakes, just like Moore was a couple of seasons ago, and just like Wilson was maybe at the start of the season or, the end of last season when he was coming in and out and things like that as well. Mark, how do you think Collins did in the end, and do you think we need a new keeper?
We need a new keeper, 100%. I think, as I said earlier, I think Collins is a good keeper, but going through a really, really bad spell. But there's no getting away from the fact that he's making too many mistakes and it's costing us goals, it's costing us points. If you look at the goal against QPR, that's the second goal was just an absolute disgrace. How the hell has that got past him? I do not know. It was embarrassing. A really, really poor goal. I think there's been other times. I think it was the whole game where Bobby Thomas played a really bad pass, and there were some comments on social media that were attacking Collins, which I thought was unfair, really, because it was a poor pass from Bobby Thomas. So I think for me, it's just a confidence issue, and the problem is when you're not confident a goalkeeper, it shows. And unfortunately, it's one of those positions where the striker misses a couple of chances. It doesn't matter; you still got another chance to score. If a keeper makes a mistake, it's crucial. It's the difference between winning and losing a game. Simple as that. And I think he started the season well, and I'll still maintain he started the season well. I could see why Mark Robins brought him. He looked confident. He came out for corners. His handling was good. He looked confident. So I think it's easy to sort of look at his most recent games and say he's useless and be very dismissive. But there are aspects of his performances this season I thought, yeah, this guy can play. He can keep. He's confident. He's not bad on one-on-ones. So I don't think I don't want him to be consigned to the waste bin, so to speak. But we do need another keeper, no question. Who do we get? Well, I think there's a couple of keepers I would think of. Victor Johansson at Rotherham. I know he had a howler against us when he was playing for Rotherham, but clearly he's a keeper who's got confidence. He's agile. He's quick off his line, almost like Simon Moore-esque a bit. Hopefully, a better version. And Lee Nichols, who's obviously a bit older, at 31, Huddersfield Town, who I've always rated the goalkeeper as well. But I think that's definitely a priority sign that Robins and the team will make over the summer. But that'd be the two I'd be considering. Okay.
Glenn, how do you feel about Collins?
I think he's a good shot stopper. The stats don't lie. I agree with what you said. I think he's had a bit of he just looks mentally burnt out. Obviously, he played a fair bit of football last season for Barnsley. He was injured. Obviously, they got to the playoff final, much like us, so they would have had a shorter break than us. And then obviously settled in at Cov. And yeah, I think the last 10 games, whatever he's played, he's not been on it. But then he has made some really, really good saves in those games. In terms of goalkeeper next season, I think we should bring back Corey Adai from Crawley Town. I'm joking. After watching that bit of skill against MK Dons.
Oh yeah, he's gone viral with it, isn't he now?
Yeah, he's gone viral. But I think I would not be surprised if we see Lee Nichols at Coventry City at the start of this next season. It would not surprise me. And I think he would be the sort that I would try and get in. I think Johansson's going to have so many clubs in for him. And I think it's just going to be really hard to get him. I think Nichols is probably a bit better with his feet. And he's also got the experience of being in a team that has been in the playoff hunt. Obviously, Huddersfield got to the playoff final. I think that sort of experience is good to have. And I think we missed that bit of experience. If you weren't going to go get Nichols, I would like a keeper like Courier Dye. Not obviously Courier Dye, but a big physical presence who's good with the ball at his feet and a good shot stop. I mean, Courier Dye's stats are absolutely fantastic. I think there's one other keeper, who's at Lincoln, whose stats are about the same, because there's him, Collins and Adai are all in like the top 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we definitely need one. I think it's common knowledge that Wilson is off, from what apparently he was telling people at the awards night. And we don't really have a backup third goalkeeper because Simon Moore's obviously going to move on. Kieran Tyler's injured, and then the other's Luke Bell, who's quite a young goalkeeper. So we might need to bring 2 in, maybe.
Okay. Josh, how are you feeling about Collins?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's his distribution. If I'm Bobby Thomas or Lewis Binks, Liam Kitchen, whoever it is, if he has the ball at his feet, Brad Collins, at the moment, on current form, I know the season's ended, but I don't really have confidence that he's going to distribute the ball successfully. I just don't, whether that be from out of his hands, passing it. And I mean, a question for you, Stuart, to reverse the roles slightly. Do you think that maybe Robbins should have took Brad Collins out the lineup for a couple of games to put Wilson in?
Yeah. I do. He did it with Moore and Wilson when they were going through bad patches. To take them out the limelight, it's a ruthless game. And Mark mentioned earlier, that with confidence with a goalkeeper, they just need one shaky game. They need to just concede that one goal, and the confidence is shot. And I think you could kind of see that. I think Collins is big enough and man enough to take that criticism and to stay in there, because obviously he did it. But I think maybe for his mental health, that maybe it might have been a good idea to take the limelight away from a little bit and bring Wilson in, because I don't think anybody at that point would have gone, no, I think that's a bad decision. Everyone would have probably gone, I think that's a fair and right decision to make, to be fair. Okay, I just want a yes or a no from each of you. Is Collins your number 1 next season, Josh?
Can I say more than one word? At what point? To start off with? Or
yeah, to start.
Yes.
Okay, Mark?
No.
Okay, Glenn?
No for me.
Okay, that's fine. That's all I wanted. Just yes or no. Okay, just a few more questions and things coming in. Simon Headlington, thank you very much. He's said, what do you think our current budget will be recruitment this summer? Josh?
I think that depends on if there's any outgoings for fees. You'd like to think, I don't know. I can't even guess a figure, to be honest with you, but I think we definitely need a Hamer replacement for sure.
Okay, so obviously when we first came into it, Mark, we came into the Championship. We were, we had the bottom 2 or 3 budgets and it's gradually gone up. I think we were probably in the bottom 10 last season. Do you think Doug King's seen the FA Cup run, and do you think we're going to see a little bit more investment? Do you think we're going to be a bit of a middle of the table budget now?
I think so, because I think he's Doug King, if you listen to him in the press interviews, he's very ambitious about what his plans for the club and what he wants to achieve. So, and he made it clear on BBC CWR that he doesn't want to see a slow start to the season like we had this season. So he needs to back that up now with supporting Robbins any way he can do. Obviously, there's a couple of other factors to factor in. Does Victor Gyökeres go? That could mean more money in the kitty for us from the sale on. And I think possibly if Gus Hamer leaves Sheffield United, then we might get more money that way as well. So there are potential sell-on monies that we could get. I don't have a ball round figure how much money we're going to spend. I think we made around 3 to 4 million from the FA Cup. But obviously, we don't know what he will do with that money. So you'd like to think that he will support Robins any way he can. Obviously, got to be mindful. I don't want us to be spending, throwing money at the problem, spending loads of money and bringing the club into debt. So I think there has to be an element of responsibility and how much we do spend, and we must be clever and get some players on a free in as well. Obviously, there's uncertainty on future one or two players. You could say Ben Sheaf. There's been rumours about him. Personally, I want him to stay. I think he's an integral part of the team, of the squad. But that's an avenue that if they really want to raise some funds, they could sell one or two players, which I hope doesn't happen, but it could come down to it. So, but yeah, ultimately, I like to think that he will support the manager as much as he can do. Yeah.
Yeah, Glenn, obviously Mark's just mentioned there about, Doug King coming out and talking to the press and saying that he's going to back the manager. I think Robins has come out of an interview over the past few days, whether it's today or yesterday, I can't quite remember, saying that, that they're going to have a better squad than they have this year. Do you think that sets their intent out?
Yeah, I think you can have a better squad without having to spend like £10 million on a player or £8 million on a player. I think there's a lot of good championship players that are going to be out of contract and available on frees. Like Sam McCallum, Alan Brown at Preston. They're good experienced pros who will do a job for us. Brown is obviously a captain at Preston. We need a leader. So I think we can do that. I think someone was trying to tell us we spent about 35 million last summer. I don't think we'll spend that amount. I think we'll probably spend a smaller amount unless Vic goes. And the problem with Vic is there's no guarantee, because I think if their manager had gone to West Ham, like it was rumoured, I think he probably would have gone this summer. I'm not so sure now. Will he go? I'm hoping Arsenal come and drop 100 million euros for him and he goes in the summer. And yeah, because then we're quids in and that gives us a massive amount of money to do it. But I'd like to see us use the loan market a bit more. I think we've missed a trick. Even if it's loans with a view to buy next summer, like we did with Ben Sheaf, I think we're missing a trick not using the loan market, definitely.
Yeah, obviously the loan market, is one of them things that people like or people hate. It's a little bit like Marmite, Me personally, I wouldn't say that I would want to see us use all 5 loans or, however many loans that you're allowed to have, like Forest did when they went up. I wouldn't say that, but I think that we probably, I think we missed a trick slightly, Josh, didn't we? In terms of maybe not getting 2 or 3. Obviously, we had Binks, who did, who for me was really good, and I hope we do get him back. We had Ayari, which didn't quite work out, and he ended up going back. But I just think that we missed a little bit of a trick by not getting a couple of more loan bodies in, didn't we?
Yeah, completely agree. I think you're right in saying that we shouldn't be going for 5 loans or whatever the maximum is. We don't want another Tony Mowbray season where, almost our full first team was loans or starting 11 anyway. But I think the prime example of how to use the loan market productively was Ipswich this season. The likes of Amari Hutchinson was a key figure for them in getting promoted. And, it's promotion stories like that just goes to show we don't need to spend lots and lots of money. I think we've already got the main players in the building. It's just a case this season of maybe adding one or 2 permanents, maybe 2 or 3 maximum loans that are right for us, not just for the sake of it, though. And like I say, I'm really, really confident about this season. I'm sure we'll talk about, where we're going to end up briefly, but I'm feeling really good about it already.
Good. Mark, how do you feel about loans?
I think it would have been nice. I think we were bemoaning about squad depth after the cup run, and I think if you had extra 3 or 4 bodies, but again, you got to identify the right targets. There's no point just buying loans for the sake of it, because someone like Chris Maguire we brought on loan. I mean, not being funny, he wasn't that good. So it depends on who we bring in, I think is the key question. and how he used that market. But Mark Robins made it very clear at the start of the season that he didn't want to bring loans in for the sake of it. He wanted to build a squad of permanent signings that were going to be here for the foreseeable, for the long haul. And he made that abundantly clear. Yeah, I probably would like to have seen at least 3 or 4, quality players. Obviously, being a 3 or 4, because that could have made the difference. So it would have been nice. And as Josh rightly said, I think Ipswich took advantage of that, and they made great use of that loan market. And unfortunately, we didn't. That's not the reason why Ipswich were promoted. Of course, they were fantastic, but I think we've got a good core squad of players. To finish the season, within the top 10, 9th in the league is a good season, really. Because it gives you something to work with. You think, well, actually, we're not that far away from playoffs. Just keep the squad together. Another season of Championship, and I don't think we need to make wholesale changes. I think we had to make wholesale changes last season because we sold 2 of our best players, and that money has to be invested wisely. And I think for the most part it was. So I think this summer's about maybe 2 or 3 or 4. I mean, obviously we've already signed Ephraim Mason-Clark. It's maybe adding another 3 or 4 new signings to really strengthen what we've got. And if you get a couple of loan players on top of that, then we've got a squad there where you think, oh, actually, we can definitely get to playoffs at least.
Yeah, definitely. Just a quick question that's come in from Luke on Facebook. He said, I haven't heard anything, but he has said, what do you think Sunday's announcement is? Do we know anything, guys? Have you heard anything that's going to be coming out on Sunday?
There was a video from the club that went out, I think it was 5 p.m. today. I don't know if you've seen, Stuart. Have you seen it now?
No.
It's like 4 fans, and the camera sort of does like a loop over them. And then there's 4 players as well. I think it was Sims, Sheaf, Milan, and someone else.
Had you right.
But it's a teaser with Sunday's date on it. So it'll either be kit or season tickets, I think.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. That's what we think. Okay, cool. Sorry, mate, go on.
There's a rumour going round that we've got a new sponsor, and it could be Monzo, Gary Hoffman, who's obviously been involved with Cov City and is on the CBS board, is involved with them. And their logo is quite multicoloured. I wonder
okay.
I don't know. It's just something that it seems very coincidental that there was a rumour doing the round on, I think it was the Sky Blue Talk forum, that Monzo were going to be the new sponsor.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Do we think that that's going to bring more money in then, do we?
Yeah, I think so, because they're quite big. They're quite a big, there's Revolut and all them, them ones.
Okay, cool. Hector disagrees on the loans. He says we have our own players to develop and sell on. I just think, with that, I just don't think that they're quite good enough to step up. I think we've seen, Ryan Howley go out on loan. I think he has been injured as well a little bit over in Scotland, so he hasn't necessarily had the playing time. But what I've heard and what I've spoken to Scottish people about that watch Scottish football, that he hasn't been quite up to it in his struggle to get into the side. Jack Burrows is an interesting one. Everyone knows how much I rate the guy, and and he has had some good games when he was with us. He did go out on loan to Lincoln. I think it was a good move for him, and I hope he comes back to us, and I hope he does push, which probably is going to be Milan for that right back spot, because we sponsor Milan, and we, everybody in this page and everybody that follows us know how much that we like Milan. But, and there is a but, he did have some off games, didn't he, Mark?
Yeah, I think the one game that stood out for me where he wasn't as good was West Brom, I think, against Mikey Johnson, where he got roasted a few times. But I thought overall, I thought Milan had a really good season. I still felt he was an 8 out of 10 season for him. So yeah, I mean, but every player had off games really.
Yeah, definitely
part of the course. But
yeah,
I do like. I have heard good reports about Jack Burrows, and I think he could be a real asset next season. So I'd like to think that he'll be brought into the fold and pushing for a starting spot. If he has a good pre-season, then there's no reason why he could challenge for the shirt. But I still think Milan is our best player in that position.
Luke's just come in actually and said Jack lost his place in the team for Lincoln, so hopefully it doesn't affect him. I think he kind of fell out towards the end because he had an injury, didn't he? And then they were playing really, really well, and I think he struggled to get in then. But I think he will come back to us a better player. I hope he does anyway, and I hope he does stay and fights for that place. So obviously we've been going just over an hour now, up to about an hour and 10. So we are going to start to wrap up. But before I ask you guys, before I say goodbye to you guys, first of all, I want to know where you think that we'll finish next season. So before we've made any signings, knowing what you know now, I just want to know a position where you'll think that we finish. I'll go with Josh first, and I'm going to come back to him later on in the season. Josh first.
What do I win if I get it right?
Well, I'm going to do it, Danny. I'm going to do it, Danny, and say Nando's because I don't have to pay up on that.
Second.
Wow. Okay, Mark.
I'll go sixth.
Sixth. Okay, Glenn.
My minimum expectations top 6. And I don't want to do playoffs again, so I'm going to say first because I don't want to copy Josh and say second.
First, wow. Okay.
I just can't be doing the playoffs at Wembley and penalties or anything like that.
Fair enough. To be fair, Luke's just come on Facebook again and said he thinks first as well. I'm actually going to say, I'm going to say third, and we win via the playoffs. Because I said that I think that if we get to the playoff final, we don't lose it again because we're not having that much of a big day out. And I think the only way to go up is via the playoffs because the day is just absolutely amazing for me. And I think, like I said, if we get there and we get in it, I think we win. I think we win the playoffs. So I said it this year. I said if we got in there, and we get to the final, we win it, and I still believe that now. Second of all, can each of you, obviously we are doing the end of season review. Have you got a message, each of you, that you want to say to the fans that are listening now on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Instagram, and TikTok, and things like that, and on podcasts as well? I'll go to you first, Glenn. Is there any message that you want to send out there?
Just thank you for all the support. It's been really appreciated, and it's been really enjoyable. And yeah, the Wembley week with all the content we did. That was pretty special and something that I'll look back on and still listen to. And yeah, and it's great to see that us and so many other Coventry City fans are doing such great content.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Yeah, I'd just echo Glenn's message. Thanks everyone for tuning in, watching the, listening to our shows. It's been brilliant to be part of a great team. Passionate about the club like myself, and it's good. I've also been meeting some fans as well outside games. Just wanted to chat to me about the game and all that. So yeah, it's been a really good experience, and thanks for your support. And look forward to speaking with you next season.
Brilliant, thank you, Mark. Josh.
Yeah, just a big thank you to everyone that listens, interacts with us, whether it be X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. It does mean a lot to us. I think I said this in one of our messages. It might have been Christmas. We are just 5 friends, with Danny included, that like talking about Coventry City, and we just put content out there. Whether you're a fan or not, just thanks for listening. And yeah, hopefully next season will be bigger and better. We've got a few things in the pipeline, but all will be revealed very, very soon.
Yeah, definitely. Before I say my goodbyes and thank yous, Glenn, do you want to come in?
Yeah, I just want to send our thoughts and prayers and condolences from everyone at All Things Sky Blue to Ian Gattenby's friends and family after his tragic passing at the weekend. So yeah, he was a lovely guy and really helped us, and did our merchandise for us, etc. So yeah, really top bloke, and it'll be a sad loss.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for that, Glenn. From my behalf and from me, I just want to say thank you to you four, Danny included as well. I know he might not be listening, but thank you to Glenn, Mark, Josh, for everything that you do behind the scenes. Getting our YouTube onto podcasts. Josh with his tremendous X space that he leads and he cheers. And all the social media sides of things that Josh does as well. I really appreciate everybody that listens. Luke that's come on and said top lads, Simon that says cheers boys, Graham that says enjoy the close season guys and keep safe, to everybody out there as well that listens to us on Facebook, YouTube, X. I just want to say thank you to our sponsor Lloyd Wright, Wright Steel Fabrications, and he has thankfully agreed to sponsor us next season as well. And thank you to the Anecdote Sports Bar at the CBS. We're proud to be partnered with them, where you can find us on home matches. We've got our own little table. Please come up and see us next season. We'll be in there again doing live TikToks and things like that as well. And we'll try and get a little bit more live feed and footage in there as well and see what we can do. Moving on to, obviously, the next season. Just remember, there is, like Josh said, there's loads of content coming out. Ex-players coming up as well, which is going to be really, really good. We've got a few ideas in the pipeline as well. And in the pre-season, obviously, we will be doing what we did last year, which is reviewing each position and giving... it was last season we did 3 names, but this year we're going to do 2 names because there's more of us in the team now. So we're going to do 2 players that we'd like to see brought in for each position. So we'll be doing that again, leading up to pre-season, talking about pre-season games, and obviously going into the new season. We are going to have a couple of weeks off, so there won't be any content or anything going on for the next couple of weeks. That's our rest, and then we'll be fit and firing, hopefully ready for the new year. But once again, lads, to you three, and obviously Danny, hopefully he's listening somewhere. Thank you so much for everything that you guys do. It really is appreciated so much, and I can't wait to do it next year with you as well. So all the best, guys. Thank you very much, and play up Sky Blues.
Play Sky Blues.
I will come off in a minute because tonight has just gone absolutely tits up with everything, isn't it? So once again, play up Sky Blues.